Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Sky Two Feathers. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings that are out there in the universe. And howdy, Alexander and Dead End and oh, Mark the Spark. How y'all doing this morning, or wherever you may be? Yeah, it is after 12, isn't it? So it's about time for one of these as the 20s coming up. But the title for tonight, this morning's thing is ego and self-esteem. Hey, Travis, how you doing? How's Mr. Duggar? He's still at Mr. Rob's house with chillin'. Because today, to give you all a little update on my current condition, the nurse was here first thing this morning, checking on my feet and stuff, making sure that the swelling had gone down, which it has. That's a plus. They wanted to put me back in the hospital the other day because my legs were swelled so big. Um, then the occupational therapist was here today, and we figured out how to help me take a shower bath thing, which I can't take a shower yet because they still have staples in. But we worked together in the house and did some exercises. And then about an hour later, the regular therapist showed up and we did all kinds of exercises, standing and otherwise. Then literally chased him up the driveway. And Miss Rhonda and I went to my surgeon's and they took every other um, staple out again. So the staples, I still have staples in my back, but it looks real good. And next Wednesday, they're going to take the rest of them out, and that'll be that for the incision. He's very pleased in how the incisions are healing, and the fact that I was able to get to his office with a nice walker provided by Miss Rhonda and Mr. Kenneth, for me to use. But so, all in all, things are going along for me as far as the healing process. And thank you for all the prayers that many of you have sent my way. Um, but with that said, I'm not quite ready for Duggar yet here at the house. I still got a little, I got to get a little stronger. But after all of the walking and moving and I was going to say jumping up and down in place, but doing exercises in place. Um, Give me another day or two. I'll be all right. Plus, was able to get dog food today for Duggar, so when he does get home, I've got things ready. And Miss Rhonda was kind enough to wash everything in the windows over here for me. We got the floor not mopped, but swept real well. The mess that Duggar had made is cleaned up. It's just a lot nicer here in the house. So when I saw Duggar the other day, it was, you know, he wanted to come home so bad. He jumped in the front seat with me and literally crawled in my lap. Like, come on, Daddy, take me home, please. But 2 more days, man, I should have this. I go back to regular doctor on Thursday for just a regular checkup. I want him to see my back, and then um, after that, I think Duggar can come home. So that's my update with that. Um, oh, Duggar, what? Come? He's the best darn dog in the West. Yeah, he is. I mean, everybody that's met Duggar, I mean, the folks that are keeping him and the kids and everybody, the family that had him before I got him, they were all comparing notes about how good Duggar is. Not was, but is. So I'm blessed to have a four-legged critter that, I wish he could have been here since I've been home, but, greater senses have to prevail. So, onto the subject of ego, and it's 421. I mean, 421. Yeah, I want to make it 420. The topic of ego and self esteem. And there are folks who would consider the two like, now they don't go together, but they have to go together. They just do. I mean, because we have to have enough ego within us to go out and find a job and do something. You have to be able to sell yourself. Well, well, mister, I sure can flip a hamburger. You know, I do really well here at McDougal's, making hamburgers. Now, I used to make a living flipping hamburgers personally, so with the carnival. And somebody come up and said, "Well, have you ever worked as a short order cook?" Well, mister, I flipped a lot of hamburgers in my life. Well, okay. But does that mean you were short order cook? Because that's the kind of thing we want is a short order cook, somebody who can not only cook the hamburgers but put them on the bun and wrap them. You know, and can you make hot dogs? I mean, can you do this? Can you actually make them? Versus just grill them and somebody else makes them. But anyway, so, but in that, you have to have enough ego to say, "Well, Mister, I cook a lot of hamburgers, and but the way we did them." So you have to, "Hey, Mossy, how you doing?" Right, knowledge and peace. Be, yep, thank you. So, but with that, you have to have enough ego within you to be able to say, "I'm good at what I do, Mister," without overselling yourself. You know, well, I did 500 hamburgers in 3 hours one time. That's one of my personal best. Personally, not part of the story, but I'm doing very well, Mossy man. I had every other staple taken out again. My back looks good. Physical therapists have been here teaching me exercises. I'm doing the best I can under the circumstances. So, I could complain, but yeah, what good would it do? But I am making progress. So that's the big thing. So with ego, we have to be able to stand up for ourselves. We shouldn't be overzealous in selling. As a puppeteer, I had to tell people, listen, I do marionettes and string puppets, and and I'm pretty damn good at what I do. And if you will talk to this librarian or this person, they'll give you, they're my references, right? So, but if I'm mealy mouthed and sit over in the corner and don't stand up for myself, then people say, "Well, so you're a puppeteer? Big deal. Have you ever played?" Well, yes, ma'am. I opened up for Turtle Park in Albany, Georgia. They paid me $700 for the day. Versus going up to someone and going, "I'm very proud of the achievements I've done. And if you'll check with the city of Albany, you'll find out that I opened up for Turtle Park and they paid me a rather, nice sum of money for opening, for being there for the kids that day." And to me, it was very successful. We had people down in the park and, and participating and I consider it one of my better things that I've done before. Hey there, Barry. Ego and self-esteem are toxic twins. One denies the other exists, but they need each other to survive. Egos say yes, go for it. Low self-esteem says, why should I? That's true. I would agree with that. So, and if you've got low self-esteem, then how can you sell yourself? How can you sell ego? Because and what I mean by sell, well, I'm a good seamstress. I've made lots of clothes for people. Or I'm a good cook, or I'm a good salesperson, or I'm a good whatever it is. So if you have low self-esteem, you ain't going to sell squat to the person who wants to hire you, or maybe to the person that you want to be your lover or your mate or whatever. So low self-esteem, is like, well, how are you today? Well, I guess I'm okay. Um, well, what's going on? Well, I don't know. Who do you work for? Well, I work part time as a, you know, um, I put powder on, the white powder that goes on them donuts. Yeah, that's what I do. I shake white powder on my donuts, and the reason I say that is because I have a bag of white donuts. I had a dream that I was eating powdered donuts with somebody, and is going to the checkout line. Now, these aren't near as good as some of the others. Tasty cake, yeah, they're all right. But I got them simply because I had a dream about eating powdered donuts with somebody. But anyway, so but if you have, and I'm sure many of us have met the folks that have too much ego, where they know everything. They know everything about every topic that you could ever bring up. And I've been accused of that because I'm 70 years old and I know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. And because I've worked in different areas, because I've known people that worked in areas, because I have been, I've had a full life with things. But there are those people who are like, well, you think you know everything. Well, ask me a question. Let's have a conversation. And I will be honest with you. If I don't know something, I'll tell you, versus other people who try to BS their way through something. So I've known a lot of BSers in my, that means bullshit for those of you who might not be able to catch up. Bullshit. Um, oh, it's time for one of these. Now, when I first started this channel and Mother Mary came to me and said, do it, I was like, nah, no, 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 no. My self esteem was like about this much, and my ego at the time was just crushed. So, after all these years, I have all y'all out there as friends and neighbors, people who have donated things for me. Um, I don't know how much of it I can get in camera. There is this grabber thing that one of my subscribers purchased for me and sent it. I have another one that came from the hospital, and I'm going to do a comparison between the two because there are some obvious differences, and one is really better than the other. But I thank folks who sent it to me. I didn't ask; they just sent it. So there are blessings that abound in all different kinds of ways. But my low self-esteem is like, you want me to start a YouTube channel? Yeah. I had to build up my ego, especially over the years, to be here to chat with y'all. And there are times I still argue about it. You want me to talk about what? Okie doke. And so Herschel Walker was on Kyle Petty's show today, drinking Coke and eating honey buns. He said he doesn't where he stays in shape. You mean our almost senator from Georgia, that Herschel Walker? Run, Herschel, run. That was the slogan around here. Turtle Park. Wow, couple of albums in the early 70s. Man, nobody remembers them exact for a few channels on. How about the Turtles, just in general? Thank you, Mark. Yeah, let's ask Bob to be nice. Apparently, there have been people who've been having issues, and also I got an email letter from Windstream, who I get my um, internet from, and what's the other name? Anyway, um, saying that they were sorry that there were internet outages through the Windstream um, thingy. So there have been folks that have been having trouble on a large scale. It ain't just me at the house; it's across the board. They've been having technical difficulties. Mossy Man, are you asking me what are my plans for the rest of spring? To get better and to get strong again. And as soon as I can, I'm gonna hit the river. Them kayaks are going, and I talked to with the physical therapist who was here today, and I said, "Listen, you got my phone number. You know where I live. If you want to go kayaking, you call me up and let me know." And because he's, what do you need help with, Dead End? Yes, and gardening too. Yeah, that's just always on my agenda. I want to. I missed it because of the operation and everything. I wanted to plant some more. I wanted to buy and purchase a couple of more blueberry bushes and a couple of other fruit trees this spring. Um, Maybe I could have waited on the operation till later towards summer and did some of this work, but I was having trouble walking and go doing anything. So I went ahead with the operation, but unfortunately, it may be too late for me to do any planting when I get better. We'll see how it works out, but yeah, I want to finish my porch out there because I want to I've got all the stuff to do a plastic thing where you cut a hole in the plastic and you put a plant in it, and you anyway I've got that I want to put in on my porch that I'm trying to finish. So got a little bit more concrete to pour, but I've got a lot of the material already purchased to put the sill plate and the walls up. So and I've already my friend brought me a really nice wooden door with multiple lights in it, glass. So and things are ready to go up, and I might have to buy some tin for part of that roof out there, but I'm ready. I'm ready, let me tell you. But I'm gonna have to get stronger before I get there. But so with ego, my ego says I'm ready to jump up out of here, and you're unqualified, but caution, brother, to go get you. I need to decide whether to go to hospital for surgical procedure in 2 hours. What kind of procedure there, Dead End? If it's important, grit your teeth and go. Because I've had to have surgeries, and so sometimes you just have to grit your teeth and go. As much as I didn't want to have that second surgery, when that blood clot appeared, gotta go. You gotta tough it out and go. They ain't two cents about it. It wasn't whether or not or if I should have it done. It was like how soon. An external tumor removed. Get her done, brother. I've had things that needed cut off of me as well. Get her done. Hey, Susie Q, what you doing? Yeah, don't be a wussy. I mean, I've had this finger here. I cut on a meat saw when I was in jail, and was cutting pork chops, and the pork loin rolled, and my finger went right into the saw, and it cut up underneath the this part right here and laid it open. And so when I went to the emergency room there at Tampa General, um, they numbed me up real good. But then I got to watch this doctor who put on some magnifying glass stuff. Hey, Susie Q, how are you? And Michelle, I was thinking I wish you were live. And yeah, you missed me by 20 minutes. But um, I got to watch this surgeon tie tie the tendon back together. It was cut 3/4 of the way through. There was just a little tiny thread and I watched him do this microsurgery on my knuckle, and I was like, "Holy crap!" So you got to just grit your teeth and get her done. Ever heard of turmeric? Yeah, turmeric's good for you. We're all with you tonight. Hang in there. Yeah, it's all good. But so ego. So there are those egotistical bastards and bitches. We can't let them out. Who are just so full of themselves that I'm always right, and oh look at me, and you know they have too much. Well, there were folks like Marilyn Monroe who had enough ego to say, I know who I am and what I can do. But a lot of stuff afterwards that said she had a very low self esteem about herself. So, not always does a lot of ego go along with a lot of self esteem. Sometimes people over generate ego because they don't have much self esteem. So they push the boundaries with ego, and their self esteem is down here. Overcompensation, which is a very interesting thing. Problem is that I will take 3 months to recover from it. The nurse will need to call twice a week. Dude, they're coming to my house 3 times a week, changing my band aid. Listen, if you need to have it done, do it. During recovery, I will have to pay for food delivery. I'm working on that now myself, dead end. Okay. I've got my neighbors who brought me supper tonight, by the way. Miss Sheila, some of y'all know she'd been in the chat room. Yep. They brought me dinner tonight, and I didn't even ask. But, it's very delightful and very grateful. If it is life threatening, you must do it. Well, not only if it's life threatening, but if it's just in the damn way, if there's something if you had an extra finger dangling off your hand and it got in the way all the time, sometimes, I could have done without this surgery, but I'd have been humped over and in pain all the time. So I'm going through all this back pain and everything and 2 surgeries instead of one, with the intent that at the end of this suffering I will be able to stand up straight again and walk like a man, talk like a girl, walk like a man. Ooh, I can't do the falsetto. Walk like a man, talk like a girl. Anyway, never mind. Not a doctor, but turmeric is called that for a reason. It makes a paste with it and consume a bunch myself. Yep. As Hawkeye would say, and also if I pulled a card right now and if it was Eagle, you have to look further than just the short distance. You got to look at the horizon and go, what does this mean 3 months from now? Well, I got to put up with this shit for 3 months. Yeah, but after that, so how's it going to be after that? That's what you need to look at. I feel very tired. The health system is such an ordeal, and I'm not even sure who will pay for what. If you have not signed up for indigent care, before I had my back operated on, I went down and signed up for indigent care before they ever thought about operating on me. I filed for indigent care in Moultrie at the Colquitt Hospital, um, which paid for 99% of the different types of procedures I had to have up there, like when I had to have the heart cath done, and when I was up there from my heart attack. So don't be embarrassed. Sign up and for indigent care. And the thing is that if you're working now and making a I'm just going to say you're working now and you're making 2,000 a month. Just I'm making it up. And but as soon as you get the operation, now you're only going to get 1,000 a month. So they take that average and go, how much are you making now? Well, I'm going to be making only 1,000 a month. So that's only 12,000 a year. And, I personally barely make over 1,000 a month now on Social Security. So, can you live on 1,000 a month? Well, it depends. I get by because my house is paid for and so forth. But when you talk to indigent care, then my salary is being cut in half. So you don't go by just what you might be making. I'm making $4,000 a month. Well, now I'm only going to be making 1,000 a month. So you give them the fact that you're going to only be making 1,000 a month anyway. So they run it through and everything, and a lot. You'd be surprised at how many people qualify. The other side of that coin too is that there's a sliding scale in it. So you might not get covered 100% with indigent care. So maybe they only pay for 50% of what you would have to owe. It's worth signing up for, okay? But there are a lot of people, their ego won't let them do it. See, this is part of the conversation, actually. Well, my ego says, well, I don't want anybody to know that I signed up as a poor person. Well, are you rich? No. Do you make a lot of money? No. Then aren't you poor in essence? Go sign up for the shit. Don't be, don't be, well, I have a low self esteem and I don't want to walk in there and fill out the paperwork. They have caseworkers that will help you. Okay. Just chill. Go do it. Drop some of your ego if you have to. Well, I don't know. Well, it wouldn't be ego. It would be more of, I don't know. Anyway, I guess part of it would be ego in that you would say, listen here, you know, I only make certain amount. So how does that play with your self-esteem? Well, it actually makes my self-esteem go up. Why? Because although I don't have enough money and I am poor and I am on limited income, it helps to know that there is help out there for me and that I won't be rejected by the system because I'm poor or I don't make enough money. My self esteem went up when they said, yeah, we got you covered, Mr. No. I was like, thank you, Jesus. They're going to cover my operation and I'm not going to have to worry about how much money I got to pay out. Well, now I did pay out $40 for copay today at the doctor's office, but that's for the last 3 or 4 visits. And this day and time, I only owed $40 for office visits. I'll take it. You know what I mean? So, but whether or not you should do it. Hey, Diane, how are you? Susie Q. Then make a dose on vitamin C. I'm worried about getting sepsis. Quit worrying. Quit worrying. My tumor is feeding and bleeding inside. It gets bigger as I get. You got. You are so wrapped up in it. You absolutely have to get rid of it. Tumors are never good. Get rid of them. A friend of mine down in Tampa, she's out of the hospital, but has to be on severe drip, and also oral um, antibodies for 6 weeks before they will operate on her. Stomach cancer, colon cancer. Anyway, she's got cancer, but because she's infected with too many things in her system, they have to put her on a serious amount of um, antibiotics before they'll even touch her for before they'll touch her for an operation, which is like 6 weeks. Yep, six weeks. Yep. You talking about Edgar Casey, Mark the Ark? Yeah. Depending on baking soda and honey, or here's another one too, is dark molasses. There are things in molasses, and you can take a little bit of molasses and a little bit of baking soda, and I've used it on warts and things and stuff like that, and it's amazing how it works. But there's some kind of vitamin that's in molasses. Grandma's molasses thingy. It's up to you if you want to be honest, Deadhead. I'm not trying to be a butthead about it, but it's up to you. Go ahead.
I could lie to you about a bunch of stuff, but I'd rather not. I could tell a story or two.
But no, level with us, Deadhead. And I want to mention this to you, Deadhead. Um, a Chinese restaurant in Moultrie. The name of the plaza for a long time was called Sunset Plaza. And I'm talking with a lady there. I ate lunch there like every day for a while. They had good buffet every day, and the price was right, and it was close. So talking with her, and she said, we changed location. We changed location. This location not so good. And I was like, well, why? Because every lunchtime they were always full, and people went out there for dinner. Oh, location bad because we in Sunset Plaza. Hey, Miss Pearl, how are you? Well, and the plaza, there's in Moultrie on the south side of town. There's Sunset Golf Club, the Sunset neighborhood. There's Sunset Plaza where the Bell Hudson and whatever is in. She say, "Oh, anything named Sunset means go down. Anything with dead end, for example, it means death. It means no future. Sunset Plaza. We moved from here because we get no business because it's the sunset of it. It's the end of it. So with a name like Dead End, the Dead End Collective, um, dead end suggests all the time that that's the end and you're dead. So, and every time you put your name out there, I'm just putting this out because it's sort of like a feng shui of words. But she was like, nothing lives. And to this day, I went to the grocery store, my doctors and everything. I have to go by that plaza. And even though they've taken down the name Sunset, there are still businesses don't have not thrived in there. How the Bell Cousins is still there, I have no idea how it survived, but it's still there. But all the other businesses and things, none of the businesses hardly do anything there in the plaza. So, but just as a suggestion, maybe Dead End is not such a good idea, just as a name. So, for example, this Chinese woman would be all for if the name of it was Sunrise Plaza, you know, or the opposite of that. I have not had sex in 4 years. It's been 14 for me, so, and these warts started 6 months later. Yep, you still got to take care of it. What they used to do in the old days, for syphilis was take a red hot needle and shove it up the man's penis and kind of kill all the stuff in there. Yeah, but now if you got something like that, you because it'll kill you. That's I like that, Mark. Sex. What's that? As an old friend told me years ago, he goes, "Here's my right hand, here's my left. Meet my date for tonight." That's just rude, but you know. Yeah, about the name, I'm not against the name, but in the grand scheme of things, that story about Sunset Plaza in Moultrie for years and years and years and years, and there's Sunset Golf Club and Sunset Neighborhood, and, you know, it's all named Sunset, you know. But I thought about it, and I have thought about it over the God. It's been 20 years ago or more since I've had that conversation with them folks. And they did move the restaurant in closer to downtown to an old steakhouse location and turned it in. And they're busier than snot all the time. Um, oh, it's okay, dead end. You were honest. I'm good with it. But no, get it fixed. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Get it fixed. A very good friend of mine who was also a Libra, and I actually might have been a little older than him, I'm not sure. But a handsome man, a lovely wife, lovely children, a devout Catholic. I did theater with him many times. He was absolutely delightful to play with, play against, and doing theater. And he got his, you know, married, straightforward, nothing, you know, out of the ordinary, true to his wife, etc. Got cancer in one of his testicles, and it killed him. Okay, it killed him, and so you, you can't mess around. Well, it was this, or was that? No, it killed him. So, well, I don't know. Well, take care of it in my next life, in a better world. I learned is that one warts grow into each other and form a tumor. Yep. Strange thing is that it's not on my private parts, but in the crease of my leg and groin. I was talking today with my friend. I'll just leave it there. I almost said her name, but um, you know, TMI for me, being in the hospital and being in the bed, you know, I got a pimple on my butt, okay, on the left cheek to be more exact. And the dang thing, because I have to lay on my back and I got to sit up, you're sitting on it. So it's not like a pimple or something anywhere else on your body that can air out. It's mostly, you know, in this warm zone, which sort of increases its chances of wanting to be, you know, ugly. In other words, get infected or whatever. So, I'm taking care of this pimple on my butt, but it's still there because I have to sit down and I can't get off of it enough for it to heal correctly. So, in discussing this with my friend, she goes, "Well, my granddaughter, they both have boils on their legs and on the inside of their thighs, and that they actually have to go to the emergency room to have them lanced, that they're so bad." So I was like, "What?" And they're in their 20s. They're not even 30 yet. And they're having issues like left and right. They're going to the emergency room apparently quite a bit to get these boils lanced. Now that's not an STD, but it's still in the same area. It's still in that something is growing. There's something behind it, and and they must and it must get took care of. So in that, I would say, listen, you're not alone in that. There are people that I know who are having to have things lanced on a regular basis, because they're whatever is going wrong with their bodies. So anyway, we've gotten off the topic of ego and self esteem, but there are some folks though that their self-esteem is so low though, and that they're so scared that they would staff related. I don't know about that, Travis, because as a young teenager, I had boils on the back of my legs that when they popped, it left blood stains on the ceilings, and I had to take um, sulfur and cream of tartar tablets. Was the over the counter what they did back then in the 60s for that condition. But it was there was no staff about it. It had a lot more to do with the type of blood that I have. And I think I'm A positive, if I'm not mistaken. I need to find that out. But um, in all the old timey stuff and everything, it had to do more with what's in your blood. Um, we all carry staff in our noses, yeah. But having been the recipient of many boils, and a lot of time with them, whoo wee. There are some people who are um, prone to cysts, and I have had cysts in my ears that I have pierced and dug out myself. Uh, I had a cyst on my wrist. There was a cyst. I still have a bump in my leg that I wonder if aliens put it there. I had a sore on my leg, on my right leg, that it was an open wound for 9 months. I literally had to dig gunk out of it every single day and keep it 3 or 4 times a day. I would have to change the bandage and keep it cleaned out. But and we tried everything from at the doctor's office, and finally it was a salve that was made by one of my um, 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 herbal doctor folkses. But anyway, we used black salve. I can't um, Ichmethol. It is a black salve, and used it after the boil was opened to draw out the stuff, and used you know about a 1 inch square steri pad with that black salve on it. Ichmethol, I think it's called. They still make it, and it's still good for stuff. Bread drawing salve. What kind of Prid drawing salve? It's a black salve, but ichmethol, ICH methyl. Ego is preventing you from doing this, and self-esteem is preventing me from accepting it. So it's bang on topic. Okay. You ain't got none since 2016. I might, I don't know if saying I got you beat or not, Barry. This might not be something you go, well, it's been since yada yada since I got any. No, but it has been a while, and not because I chose to do so neither. But I'm the type of person I just ain't gonna go down and pay for it just to get my jollies. Now it's got to be with a woman that I can connect with. We got something going on, and I'm a Libra and a romantic in that respect. So I'm gonna have to date you a couple of times. We're gonna have to get together, and you know, and then maybe we can get it on. Let's get it on. Never mind. But anyway, there goes ego again, walking down the street. But self-esteem. There are a lot of folks. I guess I'm surprised that I've seen some people in a lot of folks in medical profession here recently with going to the hospital and everything. That there are some of them folks that for some reason they don't really think very highly of themselves. And so when I was in my hospital room during all this mess, there were some people who was like, yeah, I know I'm a good nurse, but I want to be a good nurse. And I know I'm a good nurse because my patients get well. I know I'm a good nurse because they tell me I'm a good nurse, and because I strive to do the best I can. And so their ego isn't, and I'm thinking of that one girl that I nicknamed Jazzy, a beautiful black woman, we discussed some things and I talked about in a previous video, but very hip and very good at her job. The one of the ones that changed my bandage and so forth, and um, gave me a little side hug before I come home. But that um, she wasn't egotistical in how she presented herself, but her ego said, "I am a good nurse," and she presented that without being egotistical. And her own self esteem is showed by the fact that she has been in her profession. I'm going to say 8 years. I'm probably wrong in that, but you know, not just a couple years, but more than five and maybe less than 10, but maybe it was more than 10. I don't know. I can't remember. She told me. But in that, I remember it was more than 5 years, and maybe 10. But so she'd been in her profession for a while. And so after 10 years at being at anything, you're going to pretty much know, you're going to have confidence that whether or not you're a good nurse or not. There are some nurses that are just sloppy and don't care. Nah, she was on the ball, right? So her ego and her self esteem, in my humble opinion, was very balanced and jazzy, you know, where there were some other people who forced that they were a good nurse, but they sucked at following through on it. I'll be back in 5 minutes, Mr. No. And you had to ring him 3 times to come in the middle of the night when nothing's going on. I won't mention any names, but, it was like, so you're supposed to be a good nurse, right? Oh, yeah, I've been at my job. Oh, I take care of you. Okay. Then how come you're an hour late bringing me my meds? Just saying. Where Jazzy was like, She would get there beforehand and wait until the clock struck 12, and she'd give me my meds. Obvious difference in how these people, how these nurses were. So one's got a lot of ego, but self-esteem, in my opinion, is down, and that egotistical over ego. Well, I'll bring you your meds in 5 minutes, and don't show up for an hour. Have to bring them back. I'm really in pain here. Please bring them. Ding, 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 ding. Press the button again. Okay, I'll bring them. What are you doing? I don't know. Walking across the floor or something. Who knows what they were? But so that's just a minor example. But I've worked with folks in the industrial field, working as an engineer for Press to Light Wire back then. And there were some engineers that boasted all the time, but they didn't know how to drill and tap a hole, for example. They didn't know what size threads to use. I mean, they were engineers, I mean, graduate from engineering college, and didn't know how to drill a hole and tap it for whatever size screw that they needed. Didn't know how to do it. And some of them didn't care to know how, but yet they were designing stuff, thousands of dollars worth of tooling and stuff, and they didn't know what size screws to use or whatever. So, but their ego was overabundant, and I sometimes wondered where their self-esteem was, because if they had been a little bit, if they'd had a little bit more self esteem, they would have learned how to drill and tap a hole. They would have been a little bit more involved. And instead, they let their ego present that, well, I know what I'm talking about, when they didn't really know shit. It's like, you need to go take a course in machine shop. You know, you're an engineer. You've worked for Ford Motor Company, you've worked for Boeing, and you worked for who else? And you don't know how to drill a hole and tap it for a quarter 20 screw? What? You know, anyway, didn't know that you could tap it really tight or you could tap it kind of loose. Didn't know that. Well, you can use a different type of drill bit, and it will make the hole tighter, and or you can make it where it's kind of loosey goosey in there. Which do you want? What? There's different kinds of taps for a quarter 20? Yeah, for any of them, dumbass. But so, ego to them, I'm a graduate from Georgia Tech, Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech, engineering school, but I can't drill a hole and tap it for a screw. When there are rednecks running around in shops that have never been to school that know how to drill and tap a hole. You know, what size you need? I got one right over here in the toolbox, and off they go. So, and I've known several engineers that literally were that dumb, and they were graduates from very high tech engineering schools, good background, but they had low self esteem because I went there as a machinist who became an engineer. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I know where my ego is because I've built stuff like that. I know what size you use. I've got a machinist handbook that tells me everything. And do you know how to look it up? Do you even understand that? Well, it's got to be a hole. I'll just let the tool shop over there figure out what size hole it needs to be. What? No, 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 no. You're the engineer. So, and my self esteem, though, at first when I went to work for Press the Light was low because nobody ever believed me. So I had to prove myself and I had to build up my own self esteem. And like I said, it worked so well that they gave me, first shift, second shift, each gave me a going away party. Um, so there are times when, for me, my low self esteem, I learned from the people around me to build my self esteem so that my ego matched. In other words, my ego was, I know what I'm talking about because I was a machinist. I know what I'm talking about because we've had so much success. I know what I'm talking about because in 2 years' time, I saved the company $2.5 million in too much tooling and too much this and that. I proved myself to be useful and worthwhile. So, but then there were those engineers who were so full of ego that they just kept costing the company money because they didn't know what they were talking about. So, yes, that's a personal story. And I'm trying to think of, there are politicians. Well, look at El Presidente right now for the US of A with, Mr. Biden, right? He's all about ego. Well, I was an Indian once, and I was a black man that sang in this church once, and I did this as a child, and I was like that as a kid. And so, his ego stands out in front of him, you know, um, his self esteem is like dee dee dee. But, so there's somebody whose ego is larger than life, you know and he's the one supposedly making decisions for the US of A and all. Oh boy, he's our boss man. Holy crap, are we messed up, right? So we can see ego in different levels. And then there's and then there's, the Don, Mr. Trump, right? Whose ego is overflowing, but in my humble opinion, he did get some things done when he was El Presidente, not like this dumbass that's in there now. But is he full of ego? Yeah. Does he piss people off about it? Yes. Is that probably one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like him? Uh huh. You know, it's one of my turnoffs. But did he actually get some things done when he was president? Yes, that's true. And we'll see what comes up of this next presidential thing. It ought to be fun. But so there is ego to the point of being blustery. There's the Trump ego, and then there's the Biden ego. Which is worse? To me, the Biden ego, because he's making up shit. He can't keep a train of thought. And his views about where America's going is much different than mine. How to look for an egotist. Ask him or her a question they will not understand and they will pretend they know. Yep. How to look for someone with low self esteem. They wrote the manual. I need some more coffee and a powdered donut. hey, hey, Mark, I I got powdered donuts. I swear to God, the dream was so real, and it was a different brand of powdered donut. I can't remember which kind, but I mean the powder was like you'd take it out and it was just falling all over you. I love it. But we were sitting and having a really good conversation, and we were just eating them powdered donuts. And I thought, wow, this is really good. And in my dream, I was like, I can't really taste them, but the powder's all over me. And in my dream, it was like, when I wake up, I'm gonna get me some powdered donuts. When I wake up, I'm gonna get me some of that. So consequently, they had some at the dollar store as I was coming around to the cash register, and I got some. Not saying women are easy, but when they want it, they don't have a problem. Nope, that's true. That's absolute. That's absolutely true. There was a gentleman years ago, and he said, "Let's face it, Dave." And I was like, "What?" He said, "All women, in one way or another, are whores." Or maybe a nicer word, that's prostitutes. Oh, hush about that apple fritter now. Hooey. I ain't had a good apple fritter in a while, especially homemade. And I said, now, wait a minute. Now, I was married at the time. And he said, now, listen now. He said, bear with me. He said, every woman is a prostitute in one way, shape, or form. And I'm like, what? Well, if they want something, they'll cook you a good dinner and they'll take you to bed, and man, you'll have a good time. But if you don't give them what they want, you're gonna have to sleep on the couch, make your own dinner, and you if you think you're gonna get some, you're gonna get some by yourself. And I stopped and thought about it. He said, now he said the best woman um will still, no matter what she says. Well, I'm not like that. But because she says that, I don't like, I'm not like that. That absolutely means that she is. Because, well, I don't know. Well, if you're going to be mad at me, I'm just going to roll over, you know. Oh boy, I remember them folks rolling over, roll over, you know. Well, just good night and roll over. Turn your back on me, roll over. Okie dokie. And that don't mean come and get it neither. That means I rolled over and nope, you ain't getting. So when I thought about it, I was like, every woman that I've been with, that I've tried to please and make happy and whatever, it she ended up being a whore at the bar, and a couple of them were sleeping around on me. So um, it's like now they were actually whores because they were sleeping around. And here I am trying to be the consummate, not going to do it. I'm going to be faithful, and I can honestly say that with all the marriages and relationships I've had, I never slept around. Had the opportunity, didn't take it, and I'm proud of that. But my ex-wives and lovers can't say that. So who was the whore in the situation? Well, in thinking about what he said and how these women treated me, I gotta sort of agree, you know. Well, if you ain't gonna treat me or do what I want, if we ain't going there, well, you ain't, like what? Come on now. But I have met women who have not been in relationships because men treated them badly, and would not consider them in the same category as the prostitute or the whore. So there are women out there that I believe are good women, right? And who would not necessarily hold that against a man. And there are men like me who try to be honest with women, and they just don't seem to get it for whatever reason. Like, okay, dope, I guess. But, so ego and self esteem plays a part in that. Because as I was growing up, and other people that I know, just not myself, for those who you're always talking about yourself, Dave. Well, yeah, I'm the main character in this, but there are other people who I know who went to therapy like me because we had low self-esteem. We were told as we were growing up that, well, you'll never be good enough for that kind of a job. Well, even though you go to school, you're not smart enough to do that. You're blah blah blah. You're never good enough to do whatever it is. So, there are people who call themselves your friends sometimes will belittle you. Well, I don't see where you're good enough to do that. And why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. When I was doing theater and stuff, well, why would you waste your time doing theater? Because I enjoyed it. And we had full crowds that came for shows. And there were the people that I met who had the opportunity to play different characters, some of them for the first time on stage. And they went on to do more theater. And well, wait a minute. What do you mean it wasn't worth it? Well, you spent all that time. What did you get out of it? Well, I met all these people. It was the experience of it. And oh, wait a minute. Who are you to judge? You know. So, but at the time, people were trying to say, "Well, Dave, you're going and doing theater because you're trying to build up your self-esteem." No, I was doing it because people had told me I wasn't good enough to do it, and quite frankly, I was trying to prove them that they were wrong. You know, no, I really can do this. I really do know enough. And guess what? Carrot pulled it off. We did Scrooge 2 years in a row, you know, and we did it at the big theater at the Civic Center. And so and I'm the one that rewrote it for the stage. And so wait a minute, was it about ego? Well, they asked us and me to do it the second year. I didn't go out and ask them if we could do it a second year. Was that my ego? Was that my self esteem? But I'd presented my ego self esteem the year before to say, see, we can do this. We did it. All the cast members, all the folks backstage, we did it. And guess what? We did it a second year with just as many people who showed up, sold out crowds for the performances. And they didn't even pay me per director's fee, but we'll let it slide. It was Christmas time, and I donated my time to the theater. So whatever money they made went straight to the theater. But anyway, so was there are other people who did that type of thing to bolster their self-esteem. I went in to prove some to some dumb mofos that yeah, I can actually do this if you let me. Get out of my way kind of thing. I need help in this area and this, but um, ego has to say, listen, I can do this, but I need your help. I want you to help me. I want this to be a group project. And yeah, I'm the director slash sort of producer, but I need your help. This is a group effort to put this on. Fritters at Walmart, no apple in them. Yeah, one of my first wife's grandmother made these homemade fritters. She rolled out her own dough and sliced up the apples just right. She'd put sugar on them and stick them in the refrigerator for a little while, let them chill and whatever. And then when she was ready, she'd take them out and add some real butter and put them. What was it, a 20? Ooh, missed it. Doggone it. Yeah, let's do a 20. But oh, them fritters was good. She could make them with peaches or apples, but oh, them fritters. Oh, goodness gracious. Boy, she could make them. Them old grandmas in the old days, yum, 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 yum. Biscuit mix. Yeah. And you take the biscuit apart and roll it out. Is that right, Susie? Because it depends on the biscuit that you buy. But they used to just roll out the biscuit until it got flattened out, and then they'd put whatever thing in there, and then uh, flip the dough over on top to make the fritter. I'm a chubby fella. Oh. No mix. I'm talking about the biscuit you get in the roll that you pop open, like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and you just roll out that biscuit. So anyway, in talking with friends and neighbors and hearing them talking about family members and so forth, there's a lot of people out there that have got a low self-esteem. And I'm like, really? Well, they got a good job, yeah, but they just, for some reason, they accepted it for some reason, and then they could really do better. Well, but aren't they doing pretty good now? Yeah, but their low self-esteem, they really actually qualify. They could make twice as much, or be at a better position, or they could be the manager instead of the flunky, or so, whatever the situation. So, and it seems that they've got enough ego to get the job where they're at, but they don't have enough ego to go to the boss and go, "Hey, look, I should actually be a manager, not, just running the the line out there." And here's my knowledge. Um, and of course, it may not be prudent to do that because the son might be the one you're trying to, if it's a family owned business. But the self-esteem to like maybe jump ship and go to work for another company. And years ago I jumped ship from one company to another, and the company I jumped ship from actually went out of business not too long afterwards. So it was a good move on my part, where other people worked there and they came in one day and everybody had a pink slip and they didn't know where to go. I was lucky enough to jump ship soon enough to where it was just before the pink slip. Um, but my friend Thomas here yesterday, day before Sunday. And anyway, we met at that job, and that company isn't even in business anymore. If you're using that, David, I'd be making monkey bread. You mean the biscuits, rolling them out? You want your fritter with a hole though? Y'all making me hungry now. And I'm just starting to, hey man, I feel like I've run track all day long, but used my walker to get around and went to the doctor and went this and that and went walking around. So I'm getting my walking shoes going, and my back's healing up. So I'm putting this out to any of y'all. If you're any of you in the neighborhood, and want to go paddling, yeah, but I'm with you, Susie Q. I hope it's okay. Dead end. There are a lot of us that have had surgeries one way or another for one reason or another. My surgeries have been because I cut myself open and then needed to sew me back together. Other people, are having boils and issues and stuff. And I would also suggest that the foods that we eat have a lot to do with what grows in us and what grows on the outside of us. And the last 20 years since I have taken charge of my diet. Oh, and by the way, I gained 9 pounds from the damn hospital food. I weighed myself at the doctor's office today and went, crap. I really did. No wonder my pants won't buckle. Crap. I gained 9 pounds from hospital food and inactivity. So it's easy to do. Now, I was in top and bottom. I want to thank you all. Oh, I can't get too stoned tonight. I'm in one of those moods and I hurt too bad. But yeah, please go to the hospital. Honest. For your well being, and from my heart to yours, you have to endure what you got to endure. But look at the down the road. What does it look like down the road? Well, it's bumpy between here and there, but then it's paved, you know. Oh, Diane, I get my dog back in a couple of days. I go to my regular doctor this Thursday, and I want him to look at my back and everything. but I still got another round of stitches or staples to come out. But it was more about me having my balance here in the house with him running and wagging his tail and me letting him out when he needs to go out and stuff like that. Because Duggar's pretty tall, and he loves me to death, but he'd knock me down in a heartbeat just because he loves me, and I need to be more stable. So, and I'm getting there. Today was proof that I could get around well, and using a walker out in public. I used my cane to get into the dollar store today, the Dollar General, and I used the cart as my walker and bought the groceries that I needed. And now I had to have help getting them into the car, so that Miss Rhonda was good enough to do that, and I couldn't carry the groceries in. She had to do that. I carried the potato chips in, and something else, but that was that. So so I still can't carry anything. But we got enough dog food in the house that I can pick up a can and open it, and got a big bag of dried food. So for Duggar and the cats, so I'm good there. So give me a couple of days to be stronger, and when I get home from the doctor on Thursday, Friday I think I'll be ready for Duggar to come home. I'm really was the other day when I went over there Sunday. He climbed in the front of the truck and jumped in my lap, and he was like, "Daddy, take me home." The look on his face was so precious. He was like, "Please take me home. Please, can we go home?" Even though he got along with the folks, the three childrens and everything, and they didn't mistreat Duggar at all. And and I can't remember his wife's name, but anyway, when Missy, I'll just call her Missy. When Missy got up, I didn't know that she was pregnant again, and with a boy, they say. So it'll be two girls, elder, and then Mike. Um, yeah, then the boy who's going to be three soon, and then another baby boy. But when she got up out of her chair, Duggar was laying like next to her chair, and she got up, went in the house. Duggar followed her into the house, followed her back. She sat down in the chair. He sat down right beside her, and I was like, "You cheat! you, you look at you traitor!" But everybody that's met Duggar up to this point, they all love him. So that's a good thing to have a four-legged that people care for. And to have him when I opened up the door of the truck and Duggar, and he come around and saw it was me. He got up in the truck, tried to crawl all over me. I was like, "Yeah, the dog still loves me. He wants to go home." So, but a couple more days for me to heal, and he'll be back. He'll be back, and I can't wait for us to go kayaking again. I'm ready. I'm ready to go back on the river all over again. But anyway, yep. Send some prayers. Absolutely. Oh, you know what, Mark? He's over there now. I get out of the truck. Now there's our chickens in the pen, but there are roosters running around, and there are chickens, just regular chickens running around. A couple of Siamese cats, and they're here and there. And Duggar, he's not chasing chickens. He ain't chasing the cats. He ain't chasing. No. I'm like, what? Oh my God! And he didn't have a leash on him. And I was like, now that's special. So I really want to get some more chickens back here in my pen. And I really wasn't worried about Duggar chasing the chickens. And they said that when they first got him, he he likes to just chase them. He don't want to kill them and eat them. He just wants to. He just loves the chase because he's got that bird dog in him. And so he'd chase the chickens that are inside the pen up and down just because they'd fly, and it just thrills him. Like he likes to chase the cats around here, but he just likes to chase. Um, That's his ego. Duggar's ego is chasing the chickens. He just wants, but the fact that there, I don't know, 5 or 6 chickens running around in the yard, a couple of roosters, and he's not chasing them. Any chicken that's out and a dog doesn't chase him. My brother will tell me anyhow what something. Anyway, much love to y'all. Is that rain? We got rain on the roof? Hmm. Rooster probably got him good. Maybe. They said he chased the chickens once or twice, and they kind of gave him the heave to with the leash that they had on him. And one thing that if you're going to train a dog, especially around other things, you put a choker on them. You don't tie your leash to their collar. You put a choker on them. You take that leash and run it, and so that when you snatch that leash up and it chokes them, it gets their attention right away. And you say, oh, it's cruel to the dog. Well, if you're trying to teach them something really important, then you snatch them up one time. And when they get the idea, rather than a collar will just kind of pull on them and they'll, rar, 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 rar. You put a choker on them to where it stops them right there and they go, oh, you get their attention. Now, it doesn't mean that you choke, 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 choke them, but that you stop them and they know that you mean business, that you ain't just fooling around. And learned that years ago. But one of the first things, though, is you give them that jerk and they know you mean business and then let go and say, all right, now calm down. If they want to run, jump, or whatever, then you give it a yank again. Because you mean, I said no, and you let loose, bring them back down. You don't try to hurt them, but you let them know that you mean no. No to the chicken, no to the cat, no to whatever it is they're trying to run and chase. But there are a lot of dog owners who are like, well, I can't do that to my dog. Well, then they wonder why the dog won't listen to them, you know? And it's not that you're being cruel to them, but you got to establish, hang on, I'm the boss. Now, I'm going to be good, mean you're going to get along just fine. But when I say no, I mean no. I ain't gonna whoop you, ain't gonna beat you, I ain't gonna slap you in the head. But if you're gonna go do something when I say no, you pull that choker up and get their attention and let them back down, they understand that you mean no. It's not cruel in the long run. I've seen people beat their dogs and everything, and I can take a dog and I ain't the dog whisperer by a long shot. But have taken a dog and said, no, hang on, you know. And the other thing is get down on their level and talk to them. Don't stand over them, especially not with some kind of thing. That's an ego thing too. There are people with big egos that are just beat their dog to be good, to behave or to do a certain thing. And I sometimes wonder if people who beat their animals, to beat their dogs, um, whether or not their self esteem is any good. And so, one of those things that, and I've seen people with low self esteem treat their dogs genuinely good. I mean, they're nice, they have a good rapport with their animal, and their ego isn't overabundant. And I think dogs can smell and taste it, when there's too much ego in the air. Um, because there'll be somebody, for example, who's a salesman, who's got an A type, attitude about them, and they're all about this, and they know this and that. They got a Bluetooth in their ear because they're always yakking with somebody on the phone, and you know the type, right? And so one of these types gets out of the car, and the first thing the dog does is roar, 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 roar. Another person, like a caseworker, who's coming to check this, like a home nurse, the dog goes woo and smells it and knows instantly that here's somebody that's a B or C type that's come to help you versus somebody who's trying to scam you. So animals pick up on that kind of thing. There are cats that um, I don't have any indoor cats, but have been around cats to where the person says that cat will bite you, and I'm going, okay. Well, the cat comes over to me and lays up and does this number like this, and then the owner says, well, that cat doesn't usually like people. They usually, and so I gingerly go over. This just happened, you see, and I scratch right behind one ear, and the cat purrs a little bit. Now there are some cats, they want you to scratch them, but then they'll turn around and then maul you. So I'm just scratching a little bit, anticipating being mauled at any moment, you know. So, um, but then the person says, "Well, I can't believe that that cat likes you." So it's my personality because I've learned how to be calm. I've learned how to, you know oh, hi, little four-legged, how you doing, so my attitude with other people, well, I like cats and everything and they like me, and the cat says, "Meow, I hate your freaking guts." There's something about the person that the cat picks up on. So over the many years, in practice for myself, over the years, I want to be that calm person, and I think it's part of being the shaman. Um, and just your overall attitude, your overall whatever, and but it shows up for me with animals. Well, that cat don't like anybody. Well, it likes me, so your cat doesn't like most people. It's not that they don't like anybody, but so it's the aura of the arc spark. You get that from cats too. Now I don't mean every cat, but there was one just the other day. They were like, that cat'll bite you now. And I was like, okay. So I'd been over there before, around Christmas time and sat around. I've been over there just to watch the kids, and take Duggar over. And so me and the cat have met before. It's not like I'm a stranger. So, and the remark was, be careful with that cat. And I'm like, okie doke. But, it ended up like the cat's like, purr, purr, you're gonna scratch me, scratch me. Ooh, let me come up and sit in your lap, and I'm like, okie dokie. But, so aura, that's a good thing. Yeah. So, over the years, I have been practicing to get my aura, to be calm. I've met some elders and just some holy people I consider over the years to where their essence, you've heard me talk about that powwow I went to and met this guy. He had a staff, I had a staff, and we just looked at each other, and there was all of this stuff as he went by. We just smiled at each other. It was so groovy. But um, there was just wisdom. There are just some people that you don't have to say anything. You just want to sit next to them. That's all, and just be in their company because of their aura, and the just and it's hmm, it's a strong energy without ego. How about that one? Is it trying to rain? We had some rainstorms earlier. It rained really hard this afternoon. It rained all the way from the doctor's office all the way up to the pharmacy. and back and all the way to the, and it quit raining just as we got home, so we could get the groceries out without getting soaked. It's raining there. Cats are cats are roommates, not pets. Yeah, yeah, the pet thing. Yeah. Now I got barnyard cats and I got neighborhood cats. And Rhonda asked me today, she goes, "So, how many cats do you have?" And I said, "Well, I got five permanent cats, six that hangs around most of the time, and a seventh that comes to eat. And we've got other cats in the neighborhood. And if one of the cats are in heat, there's 20 cats, you know. But I've got six cats that live outside the window here. And I can go outside and sit down and pet a couple of them, and there are a couple of them that just, you know, uh, the only time I can pet them is when they're eating, and that's very gingerishly, anyway, very carefully. They're meow. But yeah, I don't mind cats. Used to have in the house, but years ago I had a couple of cats that stayed in the house, and they were all the time wanting to get up on the loft up here and sleep on the ledges. They were all the time knocking shit over and crashing down up from upstairs, I'm like, nah. So when they finally ran away and the one died, um, well, one actually went with my brother and then it died, but then there was one here that I think got run over from up on the road. But anyway, so no more cats in the house. I can sit outside and pet them. They can jump on my lap when I'm sitting outside. I love them to death, but they're staying outside. And I feed them good. They get a dump of food twice a day. I mean, the cats cost me, what was that? Right, almost $20 a month to feed them with the one bag of food that I get. 20 bucks a month for cats that I don't pet. I don't get anything from them. They stay outside. If anything, they're an annoyance. But because I took on the responsibility of feeding them, there were two or three of them. Then it got to be four, five, six, and now the neighbors' cats. So I took on the responsibility, but now it's 20 bucks a month to feed them. Okay, to me it would be sinful to not feed them. I quit smoking today. Yeah, only smoked a handful per day, so I figured why not. Okie dokie. Um, I'm still at a half a pack a day. I have pushed it a little bit the other day where I smoked about 12 cigarettes. It was better than a half a pack. And then I felt guilty and smoked less the next day. But these these 8 to 10 cigarettes a day that I smoke, I really like them. And I'm trying to do better because I got a heart condition. But after 70 years, 8 or 10 cigarettes a day, eh. But it took me a while to light this one, just saying. But I'm on your side, Michelle. If you can quit now, go for it. I've quit so many times over my years, but at least I'm trying to keep my smoking to a minimum. So I consider that for myself to be an achievement, rather than just smoke willy nilly and get a bunch. But in listening to folks out there, I'm wondering why folks have such low self esteem. Why? I know why I had low self esteem because my adopted bitchy mother, Bessie, she was all the time, well, you'll never be good enough for that. Why do you do this? And blah, 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 until she died, you know, and hers was a horrible death. It really was. Um, I mean, just all of her insides were gone, and she was the one that darkness surrounded her. Where my granny, there was light around granny when she passed away. There was nothing. It was almost like an evil presence around Bessie. And what a shame, what a shame. Now her sister is still living at 87 years old, clean living. Doesn't She's got a little bit of heart condition and so forth. We're taking a similar medication, but it's still going strong at 87. So Bessie was mean and ugly and nasty, and locked my sister in the closet, and did weird things to me, and threw me out and locked the doors and blah 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 blah, and was just not generally a nice person, and cancer ate her up. Where my aunt Shirley has been kind to all of us kids, adopted one of my sister's kids, and took care of them and did this, and she's healthy at 87. Now, there was a woman that lived up on the hill I talked about, that when we did that full moon ceremony that got interrupted by demons and bad energies. She got lung cancer and died, and she wasn't 50 years old. So tell me that being mean and nasty can't kill you, because I've seen several people who were evil, wicked, mean, bad, and nasty, and cancer got them. I mean, what you call it, from right my next door neighbor, they were conjuring demons and sending spells and literally trying to harm us with evil spirits. And she died before she was 50. She might have been 51. Um, but she was basically the same age as my daughter, who will be 50 this year, I think. 72, she'll be 51 in May coming up. So anyway, but to the point though, and Bessie was just mean and did things to my sister that I didn't know until recently. And but did things to me and other people. Her attitude and I think it killed her. Where Pops lived on, after she passed away, and her sister Shirley is still living at 87. So can your attitude have something to do with you know now Catherine? No, the grandmother we'd rather not speak of, the Wicked Witch of the North, was ornery and hateful, and she lived into her 80s. So one would think that, the good Lord would have snatched her ass out of here a long time earlier, because she was really mean. Bessie took lessons from her, I think. But there was ego and self esteem in both of those people. So, um, Catherine was one that went to Mass every day because her ego said, I must go to church. And her self esteem was over the top, because everything she did was, she was right every time, you know, even though she wasn't. So she was an egotist of sorts, and, treated her children like shit, her grandchildren like shit, got us in trouble all the time, and just thought it was funny. Um, but it wasn't just my family. I've known other people's and other grandparents and other folks, and you go, how come how come there are these types of people? Well, they're the A's and the B groups and the C's and the D's. If you go with that little square thingy, that they about personality types. Okay. So, I'm one of the nonchalant, going to go along with. But if somebody needs to take charge of something, I'll look around in a group and go, okay, let's get our shit together here. If there was some kind of natural disaster, I would be one of the people that say, okay, everybody, let's group together here, you know, um, not out of being egotistical, but there are a lot of other folks that just don't know how to do shit. And I have been in positions of managing other people in different areas and things. And, when I was on the carnival, for example, at 13, I'm ramrodding how to tear the rides down. I'm telling people twice my age how to tear the ride down and how to put it in the truck and how to whatever. So I'm the boss at the age of 13 on a carnival, you know, for the kiddie rides, to Hamptons, the train and the helicopter ride. So I'm the ramrod. Got to get them in the truck, and we got to take them down in X amount of time because we got to go to the next spot. 13. So, yeah, I've been the boss in different areas. But sometimes, if somebody else has got it, I won't like get in the way to like, I have to be the one in charge. That ain't it. But if there's just a bunch of doofuses around, I will. So is that ego on my part? I think it's self esteem in that I know enough to know if when somebody needs to step up, and if I have enough information because I have been the camp counselor many times. I used to be in charge of different folks in different situations, and okay, I'll help organize, but I don't necessarily want to be called the boss. You know. Um, it's not because I'm an egotist and I must be in charge all the time. That ain't it. But there are those people who will take charge when they don't know shit, and they don't know shit from Shinola. So what do you do in those circumstances? Well, there have been a couple of times where I have challenged folks, like just simply by stating, "Here's the situation, everybody. This person who wants to take charge, let me ask a couple of key questions. Do you know how to do this? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, if you don't know what you're talking about, and why am I asking the question? Well, I have 10 years experience with this. Next question. Do you know about this? Well, blah, 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 blah. Why should I know about? Well, I have 6 years experience doing that. Okay, now next question. So then I would, to the general audience, do you want this person who doesn't know these things, which are important for the production of what we want? Or would you like to have my experience? So, because I know about these things, up to you to decide. So I have enough ego to be able to stand up in a situation, and I have enough self esteem with certain situations, but I didn't used to. I had to gain it. Okay. And so um, I wonder why some of these younger folks have such low self esteem. And I'm thinking about two people that I've known for quite a while now, and no names, no, but they're um, younger than 30. And, they've tried different things. Well, I just don't know, Mr. Dave. Well, I just don't know, Mr. Dave. Well, have you tried this? Well, I don't know. People tell me I'm not good enough to do that. Well, then go to school, if that's what you want to be, or go get some training, or donate some of your time to something. Um, and one of my suggestions is you want to work in an old folks home. Okay. You want to help people. Okay, that's a very good, profession to be in. So what you can do to start out with is you can go volunteer at a nursing home and work with helping around and whatever, and learn about whether or not you want to really work there, or do that kind of work. You'll learn nursing things and stuff, and you might even get a job as like an orderly or an assistant or something like that. But if you volunteer, you can say, well, I have volunteered X amount of hours, and you can actually prove it. And there are some places where you sign in, you get your little badge and how many hours you were there. So later on, you can go to some other place and say, look, I volunteered at the Sunrise Nursing Home and I've got 50 hours in, in donating my time. So that now, if you want to go get a job, not only is your ego in a better place, your self esteem has risen because now you have 50 hours as a volunteer. Now you have something to show for it, you know? So, and she took my advice, sort of, and then gave up. And I'm like, but she had some health issues, which really just, I mean, she had to have her ovaries and everything taken out at a very young age. And it was a hard decision. And so her mood, she's basically going through menopause and she's not even 30 yet. And so, of course, her self esteem has been rattled and shaken and everything. And in talking with her grandmother the other day, I said, I've known her for a long time. I think it's time Mr. Dave had a chat with her. Just look, things have, life has been hard and cruel to you up to this point. And, maybe your self esteem has been rattled. Let's see if we can't talk, because I've known her for a long time. That maybe, let's see if we can work this out. Let's see if I can help you. Let's just sit down and have a chat. No big deal. I'm not going to criticize her for anything, but, you know, she's sort of in a limbo state right now. What do I do? And it is because her self-esteem has been rattled. So, and in that, so has her ego. So, but anyway, we do what we can for those folks who need their self-esteem to be bolstered up. If you see somebody I'm going to use painting as an example. You quit. I quit eating meat 3 months ago. Still don't miss it. Good. This place is ruled by darkness. The good don't usually last long. Well, in some of these things, I would say correct in that, Mark. But then again, when I see one sister who died way too early with horrible cancer, and the other who's still going at 87, has always been kind, I scratch my head and go, you know, good does win sometimes, and not always, but I can see where evil has killed some people early in their lives where they should have lasted longer and didn't. So I'm, I'm kind of like I'm the observer, but I've observed two people who died of cancer who were just nasty people. And another person here died recently. Now he was close to 60, but he was a nasty person. And I don't think anybody mourned his death. He was a drunk, an alcoholic, and a mean. He wasn't nice when he was sober, but he was even worse when he was drunk, which was all the time. And his liver finally gave out. And there are some of us who are like, we're sort of glad he's dead because now he can't hurt anybody else. He beat up on my daughter. He beat up on some other people. He was just rude and crude all the time, just backhand you. A big fella too, like 6'3" and chunky, a bit broad shouldered, and but mean to everybody. Just bad attitude. And he passed away. He could have lived longer, but bad attitude and heavy drinking and adios, Kimasabi. Diane, I started eating meat again too. Um, I was a vegetarian. I'd slip up every once in a while. I wasn't strict vegetarian in that I ate a lot of cheese and a lot of other stuff, but 95% mostly um, vegetables. There were certain things that, for example, To make good collard greens, you got to throw a piece of um, um, fat back in there. You got to throw a piece of smoked ham hock in with them greens. They just don't taste right. I tried sesame oil, all kinds of stuff, but collard greens just don't taste right without a piece of ham hock in them. So there were, some things. Same thing with certain types of beans. Navy beans, man, there's got to be a piece of neck bone in there or something. Jesus, where is that? Need me some Colby Jack. Yum yum, absolutely. It's one of the things that one of my friends said. Well, today I bought up 4 packages of sliced cheese, and I get the Borden's brand, um, and they have a melty cheese. It's a thicker sliced cheese, and it's good tasting cheese. I'll just open up and just eat a piece, but make a grilled cheese sandwich in a heartbeat with 1 or 2 slices of that, and a hamburger. I put a piece of cheese on the bottom slice, and then while the hamburger is still on the grill, I put a piece of cheese on it so it melts around it, and then put that hot hamburger on that other piece of cheese to where it melts, and I got me a single burger but a double cheese. Yeah, buddy. So, but yeah, and put cheese in about everything, grated cheese. And if I don't have grated cheese, I just tear that the cheese slices into strips and put it on. Like if I want um, cheese on my eggs, I forgot to get eggs. Oh well, I'll get Rob to bring me some of his fresh eggs. Maybe that's why I didn't get any. I need me some cheese eggs, you know, and make eggs, scramble them up good, and just as you're scrambling them up, then put that cheese on top, and then cut the heat down and put the lid on, and just let it get all in there. Greens with collards, collard greens. You don't know what collard greens are? No joke. It's a green that um, it grows really well down here during the wintertime. Um, Southerners, we got to have some kind of greens for New Year's Day. Um, and greens are for money, and collard greens especially, and then black eyed peas for good luck. But good collard greens have got a most of the folks that I've asked over the years, and especially if I've tasted of their greens. But it seems like um, most of the good greens that I've had are cooked by black women, and more elderly than younger. Yeah, they're big leaves. Some of the leaves, get this big, you know, and you can buy collard greens around here, especially around Christmas time and the first of the year, in great big bunches. And they just cut the leaves off and then bunch them up and put a rubber band around them. Yeah, you can get turnip greens that way too, with the turnips on the end of them. But I don't like turnip greens that much. I'm I'm I will eat the leaves, but with some of the turnips if they're cut into smaller pieces. But as far as growing collards, the stalk on the thing will get about yay big around, and as you pull them off the bottom, and new ones will grow off the top, and it'll grow 2 foot tall, easy. And you just pick the bottom leaves, and you get 6 or 7 leaves, like for one person. You take a couple of leaves off, and then when you get in, you can strip them leaves down, and some people, you can use a pair of scissors to cut them into smaller pieces to cook the greens down. And most folks will cook the greens and bring them to a boil, and then pour that water off, and that takes the bitter out. And I always use vinegar, and put in there and cook with it, and add salt to taste. I know there are people who over salt their greens. I like to salt them just enough to where you can barely taste the salt in them. Uh, But cook them down good and yum yum. And if you got some good cornbread to go with them greens, with them collards, mm-mm. But there are a lot of places where what's a collard green? Like if you go up north and you say, I want me some cheese grits with my scrambled eggs, they look at you funny, like, what? What the hell are grits? Now, folks know more about grits, but when I went up north years ago, well, it's been 23 years ago now because it was like 1999. But went up north, went to this truck stop and asked them for some sweet tea, and they brought me a pitcher of hot water, a tea bag, a cup, and a glass of ice. And a few hours earlier, we was in Missouri and in Kansas City, actually, on the Missouri side of the river, and had sweet tea brought to us. Drive north a little bit, and sweet tea was something that you made on the spot. And don't ask for cheese grits because they just gonna laugh you out. Now it's all right to have oatmeal, it's all right to have cream of wheat, but don't ask for grits. Now down here in the South, if you ask for cream of wheat, they're gonna laugh you up one side and down the other. And I love cream of wheat. So what I learned in the hospital was that they made grits with them eggs in the morning time, and I learned how to put sugar and milk on them grits, and I ate them like I would cream of wheat, and actually wasn't bad. I fooled my taste buds into thinking that them grits, which I don't like, have never really liked, I ate them anyway. So, you can learn how to do stuff if you're willing, keep an open mind. And I still got enough in this pipe for a 20 that's coming up. It's almost 2 hours. I was not going to be on here. I've heard of mustard and turnip greens, but not a plant specifically called collards. Yep, and they have there are different types of collards. There's this southern type and this type, and there's not a lot of difference in them. But there are some people who prefer this type of collard green over this type of collard green. Accidentally bought fresh parsley instead of cilantro. This stuff is powerful. Oh, parsley? Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And collards are easy to grow. Now, in the summertime up north, you could grow them, but down here, you have to wait till September before you start growing them. But, and you can buy a whole handful of seeds for $1, and you'd have collards out your yin yang. But that's also true with turnip and mustards, though. And it being the first, you know, we are now officially into spring. Um, I've heard I have to find them down south some. Yeah, you can get collards in the summertime as far as like in a restaurant. But good collards, they say, um, falling asleep. Love you, Susie. Good to see you. Thanks always for coming in and hanging out. Um, and I'm fixing to let and give up here in a few minutes myself. It's 2:15, and I did 2 hours with Robert, and now I'll be 2 hours here. That's 4 hours I've been sitting in this chair, and my ankles are starting to swell, and I got to go put them up. On my ankle, my legs swelled up so bad last week. Oh man, they were going to take me to the hospital. They were like, "You're going to have a heart attack. We're going to take you to," and I was like, "No, let me put my feet up." And Dave fixed it, but they were ready to take me to the emergency room. And I was like, "What? They're just going to tell me to put my feet up?" No, but they do have. Oh, they're over there. They had these things that were on my legs, and they were hooked up to these pumps. that pump the circulation out of the bottom of out of my ankles and below my knees to keep the blood circulating. And it was really nice. And then I got home and kept those socks on, and I ruined it by um, cutting off the circulation, and my legs swelled. They swelled so bad the skin was popping open, and white junk was coming out. I guess it was just water. But not to do that again, let me tell you what. But I am healing. I am doing better. I have walked much more, and I intend to mend of this, despite how hard it has been. And I've got to learn. I have to learn how to walk again. So I love you all very much. It's been 2 hours. I'm going to take another hit off this bowl to just sort of do a 20 with you. But I thank you, Diane, for being around too. Yes, I'm bushed. I'm going to get listen in the background. Well, I'm fixing to shut off here, and I got to go put my feet up so my ankles don't swell up again. But I absolutely do love you all. I do. And I'm constantly saying prayers and putting them out there for you guys. And Niles, if you're already gone, but hopefully he will follow through on that. And let's ask the doctors to guide their hands to fix whatever he needs fixed. But I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings out there in the universe. And you're never alone. You might be by yourself, but you're never alone. And, you might have to muster up a little ego to know that. But you're never alone. And with, with a little bit of self esteem, you can feel the energy of the universe. And instead of people who put you down, when you accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe, your self esteem goes up. You feel better about yourself because you know that you're not alone. See, all of this is relative and related. See how I brought it back around for those of you who stayed 2 hours and 2 minutes. Um, but, so when you accept the universe and when you accept the fact that you're never actually alone, you might be by yourself, but you're never alone. That should bolster your self esteem. Well, there are people out there that care about me. I've never seen their face, but I know that they're out there. And let me take a deep breath and let my self esteem, stand up. And my ego, therefore, is stronger because my self esteem has been lifted. I understand from the universe there are people out there who I've never met that kind of sort of have my back because we're all members of the soul tribe. We're all members of the league of like minded beings. We're all members of the universe. We're all spiritual beings. Oh my God, my self esteem just picked up a notch. And my ego is strong enough now that I won't let people berate me or belittle me. I'll stand up for myself. I won't be egotistic, but I'm going to stand up and I'm going to make sure that my ego shows. See, I am good enough. I can do this. And I am strong enough, even though we all have weak moments. And some days are just shitty days and we just have to get through them. There was a couple of days ago, it was just a grump day. I'm just grumpy. Blah, 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 blah. Not for any particular reason, but I was looking around going, why am I grumpy? And then I found out that there were other people who were having a grump day, and it was like, So maybe with the stars and the planets aligned in a way that a lot of folks were just having a grumpy day for no particular reason, and the next day was bright and cheerful and everything was groovy again. So Sometimes we just got to get through them grump days. But if we keep our eye focused down the road and not at our feet, if we have to look at our feet to where we're going, we're going to trip over stuff. We can't see what's down the road. And talking with my friend, I was like, defensive driving means that you look down the road in front of you. You don't look at the car right in front of you. You pay attention to that car in front of you, but you're looking down the highway. What's going on with two or three cars down there? Because somebody's got their brakes on, and these folks ain't paying attention. So the car in front of me ain't slowing down, but I am, because I see three cars down with the brakes on. Something's going on. Slow down. So you pay attention to not just what's in front of you, but what's down the road. And so one thing in playing with the kids the other day was showing them how to do it, walk the tightrope. Because, in my neighborhood, we had folks that, were in the circus back in the day. And one of the groups they did trapeze, but they also did, a walk the tightrope, right? And so one way that we learned was first you take a 2x4 and lay it flat, and you learn how to walk on that. And then you turn that, the wide side, and you turn it up on edge, and then you walk the edge of that 2x4. And you learn how to walk it. You learn how to do it with your eyes closed. You learn how to do it with things in your hands, and you learn how to balance yourself, right? And then you move to a rope, and you start out with a rope that was huge. And now that rope is now it's not solid anymore. Now it's got some swing to it. It's not just this board like a balance beam, right? So, but you learn how to get your balance. You learn how to walk the tightrope first on a board, and the board gets narrower. And you train your feet on how, and they actually use their toes to cling to the to the tightrope. And so, in playing with the kids, well, they were doing it. I was sitting there in my walker watching them. But they had a ball walking on this flat board, and then they got another one. And then I told them, I said, learn how to go down it one way. And then I said, and now as you learn how to do it, walking straight down, now turn around and do it with your eyes closed. Walk the board with your eyes closed. And they were on they were on milk cartons, so they were just a little bit off the ground. So teach them a little more. And so the Whitley, she was like, broom. She walked down there kind of peeking out one eye, but she walked the board. And I said, now for the next trick, see, to learn how to balance, I said, now you need to walk backwards. So if you're in the circus, you see them walk out, and then they back up. Then sometimes they have a bicycle that they ride on. I was like, so, but you can be in the circus too just by playing and using the board. It's good for your balance. And so, but with just sitting there talking with I think she's in first grade and then younger, learning how to walk a balance beam, learning how to be, playful, and want to learn how to go backwards, and they want to learn how to do it with their eyes closed, because when you do stuff like that with your eyes closed, especially youngins, it opens up the third eye. And I'm going to do a video about that coming up, discussing how to open up your third eye, and having these young girls. Well, the young boy, he's just too young yet. He needs another year to get old enough where this makes sense. But he's still playing on the board, right? He's still walking on the board, and he doesn't have enough balance to walk, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, but he can do balance sideways. And me and his mama were watching, and he could get up on the board, and he was getting his balance, but he's not even 3 yet, right? But he can do the side shuffle down the board, and he got all the way down the board without falling. So, he's learning how to balance. And you say, well, Mr. Dave, what's this got to do with ego and self esteem? Well, when you can walk a balance beam with your eyes closed, that gives you self esteem that there's something you can do that may, there are a lot of people that might not be able to do that simple task. You can't walk that 2x4 with your eyes closed? No, but she can. Nanny, nanny, boo boo. So that gives her self esteem, which kind of sort of builds her ego because now when she goes and plays with the other children on the playground, she goes, I walked down the balance beam with my eyes closed the other day. And she might mention, Uncle Dave showed me how to do it. And we were practicing, at my house the other day when she's talking with the other little children when they go to school. So it's something to sort of brag about, but it's something simple. Kids ought to be able to do that sort of thing. So, but it builds their self esteem. I can do this. It's simple. I walked down the board, but that's not the point. You could do it. You challenged yourself and you achieved it. Build your self esteem. And it helps your ego to be stable. Because if somebody asks you now, hey, coach, I walked a balance beam with my eyes closed when you get to gym class. Hey, coach, I could do this. I walked a beam back when, you know, okay. So then you get points during gym class. Be where the puck is going to be, Wayne Gretzky. I'm trying to be number 90. What's number 99? Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. But anyway, it's 2 hours and 11 minutes and 45 seconds. And maybe there's some wisdom in what I just said. I waited till the end of this video to put the self-esteem in there and what can build it. But there are simple things, and those of us in the soul tribe, just being here a lot of times, and I say patting each other on the back, and not necessarily for a job well done, but we encourage each other, and I think that's a good thing. And when we encourage each other to stay strong, like Niles, so forth, um, you know, we support. And whether or not we ever meet him or ever know where he lives or any, but whatever, the idea though is that he's not alone. There are those of us out here that will support him, and especially in his decision, and we'll be here to say prayers for his recovery. Just like you all were here for me, I'm going to be here for him and other people who, my friends in Florida, who she really needs some prayers for the next 6 weeks. I can't believe it that they're going to make her wait that long. But it's going to try her patience, but there ain't nothing she's going to be able to do. But so there are a lot of prayers going out for a lot of people with a lot of different ailments and things. So I'll wrap this up and say, finally, it's been more than 3 times I've said this, but one more time that goes around. I do continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. So have a good rest of the week. This is Tuesday. Yep. Or it's actually Wednesday now. Please be safe, everyone. Know that you're not alone in this world. There are those of us who devote our time to prayer warriors, and we will continue to say prayers. So have a great day tomorrow. The rest of the day. Cheers, everybody. And until next time, keep it between the ditches. Cheers, everybody.